All right, YouTube, it's your boy Zxous, and we are here with some more testing for the brand new Aid character. We are live here, and literally a lot of people want some, answers, because if you haven't watched my original video of Aid, I did come to the conclusion that she is a very solid burst 2 support character. I think she's going to be a character that will have a lot of value in the game, and I do think she's a character that will 100% be meta for like different types of teams, especially that Pierce team and stuff like that, right? But a lot of people want to know, is she the second best burst 2 in the game, or is she the third best burst 2 in the game, right? Because the only other person who could come close to her would be Grave, right? Grave is the only other character in the game that kind of has the same thing going on like this Aid here. So what we're going to be testing today is obviously Aid with 2 Pierce characters, being Dorothy and also being Red Hood and Dorothy, right? And then we have kind of the monstrous trio team, just not with Crown. It's with Aid, and we'll replace Aid with Grave. But we're gonna go in there and see what this is looking like. This is Rebuke's account. Shout out to Rebuke, because I don't have Aid, nor do I have her like leveled up or anything like that, because I don't own her. But we're gonna go ahead and see what's the score looking like, what's the performance looking like, and we're gonna compare Grave to Aid. I do think when it comes to multiple teams, if you do want to use this like Pierce damage team, essentially, I do think Aid is a really good place or burst 2 option for that. Like, my whole thing is the monstrous trio team will always be Little Mermaid, Crown, and then Helm, right? That's the monstrous trio team, right? And with that crazy combination, you really just want to put your insane DPSs with that team, right? So that's kind of one whole team. But then like Red Hood and Dorothy, I feel like Dorothy herself is gonna go on the shotgun meta team, right, with Tove and stuff like that, so you don't have to worry about that. But I feel like Red Hood is realistically the character that needs a place, right? And obviously with Vesty, or not Vesty, my bad, with Milk being a Pierce character as well, of the same typing as well, I feel like that Aid, Red Hood, and Milk combo will be the go-to combo, right? And obviously you could slap Litter on that team as well, because with Dorothy and her shotgun team, you have, Tove as your burst 1. With Little Mermaid and the monstrous trio team, you have Little Mermaid as your burst 1. So with the Pierce team, you could easily have Litter, that extra burst 1 character, on the team right there. And then you have your burst 2 being Aid. On the shotgun team, it would be like Leona, or maybe somebody else if you don't want Leona. And then, somebody else, I'm not sure, but you can definitely make a lot of use out of this character. Chad, do we agree with that? Do we feel like we can use a lot of use out of Aid? I feel like you can get a lot of use out of her, right? I don't think she's the best, and she's probably, like, I'm gonna be honest, y'all, she's probably not going to be like first pick in solo content. Like, I'm never gonna put Aid over Crown. That's just the reality of the situation. But like, I don't want people thinking just because you're always gonna pick Crown over Aid, like, that doesn't make Aid bad. I think that's the mindset we have today in NIKKE. A lot of people, where it's like, if they're not replacing this character on your team, then they're just bad. And I kind of understand it to a point, because it's not like, if you're never gonna use Aid, I'm not gonna tell you to summon for her because she's good. You know what I mean? Good or not, if you're never going to use her, it makes no difference. That's just what I believe, right? I have a lot of good characters that I never use. Like, Mana is a really good character. I use Mana for videos just because I like Mana, and I use it sometimes here and there for revive if I really need it, but I don't, right? So realistically, Mana's a character who I do consider fairly good. I just never use her, right? So meta is meta, literally. That's a good way of putting it. Meta is literally meta, and it's more like just don't think because there's a character better than this character, that means you can't use this character, because you can always switch it, right? I want to kind of go through. Oh my god, Aid, what you working with? Was you always that? Yo, was Aid always that? Well, I guess we would never be able to know because of that damn dress she had on. Good lord, Aid, amazing. But yeah, as you guys see with this team right here, like, we are getting what, 5.5 billion, right? We're kind of getting we're gonna get 6 billion ish. It looks like we're gonna get 6 billion. Remember, the thing is, I do want to kind of just go in to show you guys something. Aid is giving the entire team a permanent attack buff. It's not anything too crazy, but she is giving them a 15, I guess, what is it in her case? It'd be 13%, right? Which is this right here. It's this one right here. It lasts for 0.1 seconds left, right? But when she full charges, it reapplies. So if we go back there, you will see it's always just gonna be there. It will just always reapply. So she kind of has that permanent attack buff for the entire team, which is another great thing for her, right? But obviously the characters with the pierce are going to get the most usage out of this character, right? As you guys see right here, the final number was 2.3 billion basically, and then 2.2 billion. And I'm going to screenshot this right now, all right? Because I want to compare obviously Aid to Miss Grave. So this is what it looks like with Aid, and we're going to come back and just show what it looks like with Grave to see who's really like better as an overall character, I feel like. Because remember, Grave does damage as well, so we'll see. All right, so this right here is the same team with Grave. The only difference between Grave and obviously Aid is that Grave herself is core 2. Not only is she core 2, but she's 10-10-10. Aid is no dupes, right? Aid is, where is she? No dupes and 7-7-7. So as a solo character, DPS wise, I pretty sure that Grave will hit harder. But if you don't remember what Grave does, because I don't want you guys thinking like, okay, well, what does Grave does? Like, what does Grave do? Let me just break it down for you guys real quick, right? She's kind of like a sub DPS, realistically. Like, she's meant to do damage herself. A lot of her buffs are actually for herself, right? It just, you know, it kind of just benefits other people that have pierce. But when she's in her heat emission status, which she, you know, is in when the prediction status ends, which is after her burst skill, she will give a 48% pierce damage buff continuously and fill burst gauge. That's huge. That's really big compared to Aid, right? All this stuff right here goes to herself, so we're gonna ignore it, but she just gives herself attack buffs. And then here she gives all allies a attack damage buff of 48% and an additional pierce damage buff of 40%, right, for 10 seconds. So Grave is gonna be nasty. I think it's as clear as day that Grave, like, you shouldn't, I don't even think we need to test it. I'm pretty sure Grave 100% is just gonna make these characters hit 10 times harder, because like after the full burst ends, we're talking about characters who are in pierce their entire time, right? Now technically no, but with this team right here, you got to remember, burst generation is insane with this team, right? With Helm, Little Mermaid, and Grave, burst generation is way too crazy for this team, right? So it's most likely going to be Grave. Like, look, when this burst skill ends right here, we're back in our burst skill. The cooldown's not even done. We're back in our burst skill. The cooldown didn't even finish, bro. Like, that's the thing. These Little Mermaid, Helm, and Grave all have insane gauge, filling, boost, whatever. I am literally, I know for a fact Grave is gonna make these characters hit harder. The pierce, but I didn't even realize like her pierce buffs were that big. After the full burst ends, basically she gives a 48% pierce damage buff continuously until you like re-enter the heat emission state or something like that. That's a bit crazy to me. Like, that's a bit crazy to me. We just hit the 2-minute mark and we're already halfway from the 5.5 billion that Aid provided, right? So my thing is like, okay, now if it comes to Grave versus Aid, right? I don't feel like we have that many general pierce characters where you could make it work, but at the same time we do, right? Because I could use Grave with Alice and I can use Grave with Asuka. Both of them have pierce and both of them are powerful. So you could really make a lot of teams work here. Grave, Asuka, and Alice, and then you can also just do Aid, Red Hood, and Milk, because that's iron, and fire. That's my little opinion on it. My question is this team going to pass? Because we're now almost at the 1-minute mark, and they still need 1.2 billion to kind of get up there. Nobody's type advantage here. Not a single character is type advantage here, so this is just raw. Right, that's the whole point. I wanted it to be raw, no type advantage, no nothing like that. I only wanted to do that for the sake of like, so that there's no like, oh well, this character's type advantage, this character's type advantage, none of that. We have 40. We're gonna easily pass the score. We're at what, 5.3 with 40 seconds left. So it's as clear as day. Grave is going to like, yeah, this team is hitting overall harder, but you got to remember Grave herself does damage, so a lot of that damage right there could be coming from Grave herself, and we just don't know. I don't want to look at the final results until the match is over, but 100% a lot of that damage is probably coming from Grave. Now the question is Grave doing, because now we're about 1 billion over, is Grave doing 1 billion more damage, not type advantage? I don't think so. So it's kind of already clear as day that Grave got this realistically, but I mean, we'll see. We'll see at the end of the day. And I know I'm like here in the corner of my webcam when like I have all this space over here, but that requires me to be here, and I don't like being here. I like being in front of my computer. So all right, so before we have a look, it's 7 billion to 5.5 billion, but let's just take a look at the comparison. Okay, I'm gonna pause. All right, so we have it up right now. This is it right here, right? This is what it was with 8, right? 2 point. We're gonna look at the comparison right now, right? Boom, and look at the compare. Oh, okay. Now that's something. They're fairly close themselves, so that really goes to show how big. And 8 is 777, not 10. So that really goes to show how big, like, just continuous permanent attack buff, a permanent continuous pierce damage buff plays to like somebody's only giving you the buff when you're in a full burst. Now again, in Grave's case, you're almost in a full burst every second, but you do have those seconds where you're not in there, right? But my thing is, if this aid was 10, would Red Hood and Dorothy hit just as hard, if not a bit harder or a bit shorter, right? Like it's clear as day. If you're looking at these numbers, majority of the damage, that extra damage that we've seen, came from like Grave herself, because you know 8 is at 308 million. Excuse me, 8 is at 308 million and Grave is at 743 million. You know what I'm saying? So that's an extra 400 million damage you get for free just by running Grave, right? Not to mention everybody else is doing slightly more damage. So it's just, it's like you could make the argument. I feel like you could make the argument, but then again, it's like you can't, because that's Grave is doing what 8 is doing, slightly better. Not to mention she's giving extra damage because she's a DPS herself. So, I feel like 8 probably, if she was 10, you could probably see these characters get higher damage than with Grave, but Grave's extra 400 million damage is still something that's like a big feat. That's a big feat, because that's 400 million extra damage that you now have just because Grave is a powerful DPS herself. You get what I'm saying? So I think it's Crown 1, Grave 2, Aid 3 for burst 2s. But it's not that far off for Grave and 8. It's really not. It's just the damage difference, I guess. But either way, you have now a team. You have obviously the shotgun team for Dorothy, Aid with the iron team with Red Hood and Milk, and then you have Grave with Asuka and Alice. So either way, you still get use out of all three of these characters if you're using them separately and stuff like that. So yeah, that's realistically it. But you guys let me know what you think. I'm glad that at least 8 is a good viable option, because my whole point is like, if you don't have Aid, if you don't have Crown, then 8 is probably the best thing you can get, which I do like, right? If you don't have those pilgrims, this is the best thing you can get realistically. Anybody starting the game today, if they started off the game with, like, mind you, the game right now has Aid, Summer Anise, and realistically that's it, because like I wouldn't tell anybody to summon for Summer Mary. Like, she's a good healer, I guess, early game, but like no. But if you start off the game now, you would have access to this Aid and you would have access to Summer Anise. So I mean, you guys let me know, but I'm really happy about this. I'm really happy about this comparison. I don't think she's too bad off of Grave, but I'm really happy. But you guys let me know what you think. At the end of the day, it's up to you guys if you agree or if you disagree. It doesn't bother me, but I think she's good. But your boy Zxous, let me know what you guys think. Subscribe and like, and we're out. Peace.